Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair, rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here again with Michelle Chalfant, who is, I don't know, using me for my pretty face this week.
I'm always using you. That's true.
We are here to introduce a conversation that you had with someone else. You traitor.
I actually cheated on you.
Benedict Arnold on the podcast here.
I cheated on you. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Before we dig in and you tell us what we're about to listen to, everybody who's listening, if you're listening on the website, head over to the Adult Chair. Make sure you subscribe to the show. If you join that mailing list, that is the easiest way to find this podcast. We'll send you an email whenever a new episode goes live. It's the easiest way to get notified, particularly if you're not accustomed to podcast apps. Though you can find us anywhere podcasts are served. Just search for us in iTunes or Google Play with the Adult Chair, and you can join the conversation on Facebook or Twitter, as so many of you have. We love hearing from you there. Thank you. Now, okay, Michelle, tell us what we're about to hear.
I went out to brunch with my girlfriends a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the usual. They're my friends in their 40s, single, do I want a job change, et cetera, et cetera.
Baseball.
So, yeah, that didn't come up.
Sports
surprisingly
ball?
No. No, and so believe it or not, the Adult Chair conversation came up, and we were talking about how we would use the Adult Chair in their, in creating love in their life, and breaking some dysfunctional patterns, and wondering if there were blocks in the way of them creating this new job and the new boyfriends coming in, or romantic interests or partners or whatever. And they were like, "This is so cool. I love this stuff." And we left. Actually, in the middle of breakfast, we were thinking, God, I should really, we should be recording this. This is such good information, which I tried to do. And I was like, oh, let me hit record on my phone. And you would have been horrified, because I know you're a big audio guy. You would have been horrified, because we could hear the people around us and, the plates banging together. So I was like, forget, that didn't work. So I thought nothing else of it. And then I got home, and about 45 minutes later, my friend, one of the girls that was at brunch with us, called me, and she's like, oh my God, I just applied, the Adult Chair model to everything we were talking about. I just had this humongous shift. I have to tell you all about it. This model is so powerful. I'm like, how fun? Well, tell me about it. And she started telling me about it. I'm like, hold on, let me record this, because this, I believe real life examples, it's a great way to teach. It's a great way to experience how this model works. And this is her real life. So you're still going to be slightly horrified, Pete. You're not going to like the recording. I'm not going to lie. It's not as clear as this. However, it is a recording of our conversation over the phone with her blessing. She was really excited and told me about what happened. And she was actually able to identify a block to her creation of bringing in, a love interest and really growing her business. And she was so excited and blown away. So she did give me her blessing to use it on the show.
That's fantastic.
So it's my conversation with Liz about her life.
Well, thank you.
It's really cool.
Thank you, Liz, for your willingness to share. We appreciate that. And I guess that's it then. So here, I'm going to take it from Michelle and hand it off to Michelle and Liz.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. It's Michelle Chalfant, and I'm really excited to be here today, because I know so many of you have written into me about wanting and enjoying real-life examples on how to apply this model and how to really have some great shifts in our lives and really see change. And we know that change is possible when we apply this Adult Chair model. And this morning, I was out to breakfast with some of my good friends, and I so wish that we had a microphone, because we stumbled onto a whole conversation about creation. In fact, the girls that I was with happened to be single. They're in their 40s, and they were wondering, how do I create love in my life? And what's going on? Is there a block? And then we got into talking about other types of creation, as well as breaking old patterns. And then, of course, we landed in how do you, talking more about self-love and what that even means. So we had an amazing, amazing conversation. Again, I wish the whole thing was recorded, but it's been on my mind, and as well as one of my friends, her name is Liz, and she has decided to join me on this call today. And we're going to discuss a little bit more about what happened, not only at breakfast this morning, but she went home and did some of the work that we had talked about and had an amazing shift. So Liz, my good friend, welcome. Hello.
Thank you. Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much for volunteering to talk to everybody about this. This is what's so cool is that
I'm so
I love to share, anything to do with what happens with me when I have a shift, and I love sharing client stories, friends and family. I mean, I just feel like this model is so powerful. And you, after our great breakfast, our 3-hour breakfast today, went home and actually started doing some of this work and had a great experience. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness. It was great. So,
all right, everybody. So we were talking this morning about, did we just land on that? I mean, gosh, we were talking about so many things. What was the thing that really stood out? Was it the creation?
Yeah, I think it was, we started talking about, I think I've been kind of doing all the soul searching and trying to figure out just in my own life. I definitely have a lot of trauma in my history. And I've really been very fortunate to be connected with all the right people to work through all of this. And so just kind of looking at the sort of the other little things that were still sort of reactionary or whatever, and different, like so many of the people in my life saying, like I'm, just different areas where I'm really struggling. And so the other gal and I are both single moms and trying to, just trying to make ends meet is really challenging at times when we're not getting any support from the ex-spouses and all of that. So it's been a challenge. And there are certain things that it just seems like other people in my life are like, I just can't understand why like things aren't working or whatever. And not that they're not saying that in a critical way, like that I'm not doing enough. It's just that I think for them, they're seeing how hard I'm working and how hard she's working, and like all of the people who love and care about us in our lives are like, oh my gosh, some man is really missing out. Like you're extraordinary and your kids are amazing, and and like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be struggling because you're amazing at what you do, and all of this stuff. So so you got to go, you start asking, you're like, what is wrong with me? You're like, what is wrong with me?
Right.
Because what is happening here? And I kind of worked through a lot of trauma. And then we were talking about, I had been introduced to some different methods of kind of clearing trapped emotions and false beliefs and all these different things, and using that really, really spending time whenever I could to really work through stuff and feeling like, oh, this is great. I was really feeling like a release from all of these things. And yet there was something that was just not shifting. And so then you were saying, that you had used some of that also, but that really what you were explaining, if I'm not going to try to paraphrase you talk about
go ahead.
That and how, okay. Well, I was just kind of realizing that, in our conversation, and you were giving an example from your own life of something you were wrestling with, and you were like, okay, wait a second, what part of me is that is feeling that? What was the emotion that you were expressing?
Oh, that I was dealing with here?
Regret or something.
For me, I've been dealing with my regret because I get so triggered around the holidays when I'm not with my family. So I slip into my old story of that my life would be so much better. So my regret came up. Oh, yeah. In fact, why don't I talk about this? Should I say this a little bit? Let me say this a little bit. So for me, you guys, it's Memorial Weekend and my whole family is not here in Nashville, and I get very, very triggered when the holidays come around and I'm alone without my extended family. And the part of me that comes up is regret. And this morning I was sharing this over breakfast. So what I did this morning was I was going for a walk, and I said, and it's like my brain gets on the hamster wheel of telling me all of the mistakes that I've made in my life If I had only moved,
I know that hamster wheel.
You know that we all have that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
Damn that hamster wheel. But I have many hamster wheels, and this is a big, giant hamster wheel for me. And it came back, and it said, so the voices in my head, and they are nonstop and fast. And that's one indicator I know it's coming from my adolescent chair when the energy and the voices are fast. And the voices are like, you should have moved back then, and why'd you ever move here to begin with? And there's nothing good that's come out, it's fast moving, and my whole energy just collapses, and I get so sad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what I did this morning on my walk was I'm trying to have this really peaceful 6 o'clock in the morning walk. Nobody's out. The birds are chirping. The sun's coming up. It's lovely. And I've got this loud, crazy voice in my head. I'm like, be quiet. In fact, the more I find that we push against that voice, as you know, what happens? The louder it gets. And the faster the voice comes. The faster it moves and the louder it gets. So what I did was I said, I want to see. Now, again, think about the adolescent chair. It's not just one chair. It's a chair that houses, many, many, many parts of who we are. But that adolescent chair represents many parts of us. So this happened to be the part of me that was in regret, okay, and reminding me of all that I did wrong. So I said, I want to see that part of me. I want to know who's talking here. So I popped it out in front of me as I'm walking. I'm doing this on my morning walk. And facing me, so as I'm walking, this part of me is just suspended in front of me. It looked like the Mucinex guy, that big blobby, runny nose.
That's a great image.
I don't even know. I mean, I wasn't even thinking of it. It just popped out of me, and he's in front of me, and the talking is still going on, but it's coming from this part that looks just like that guy, that big green monstery guy with a runny nose, for some reason. So I listened to him. I said, okay, tell me. I want to hear everything you want to say. Go ahead. And if you would have never moved here, you could have stayed with your family. And if you'd only done this, and this would have happened. And if you'd only done that, then that would have, all these reasons why. And now you're not happy here. And So we can't combat that voice. There's nothing that I could possibly say to get that part of me to quiet down in that moment, because it was going so fast. I'm getting more and more anxious, right? So my anxiety, that feeling in me is this racing chest and everything and tightening of my chest. So I just looked at it and I said, I love you. Despite all that you're saying to me, I've got this and I love you. And I just repeated it, not quickly, but very slowly. And I remember calling in my adult. I said, I really need my adult right now to listen to this part of me. And I feel this energy that's like my back gets straighter. And I feel my heart slow down, and I'm walking, and I'm just saying to this part of me, I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you. I know you're trying to protect me. I love you. And I just kept saying, I love you. And every time I said, I love you, it started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And before I knew it, it was gone. It was gone, and it was like steam coming off of the road in front of me, and it was gone. And that's so anyway, so that was what I was telling you guys about. And the point I want to make is that, even though it looked like that part of me is gone, it's not like for the rest of my life I will never, ever, ever, ever feel regret again. I will, but it changes. We can't get rid of our parts, but when we look at them, it brings them from the shadows and from the darkness of the depths of who we are. And we bring it to light, and then we can let it know that there's another part, which is my adult, that's healthy and that has it. Like, I've got my life. And then I was then able to say, for the rest of my walk, I made choices based on what was going on in the moment. And it just turns out that I'm here in Nashville, and that's okay. And my whole body just calmed down, and everything slowed down. So that was what I shared with you. And then you guys took that information, or you did, and continue on.
Yeah, no, so I went, oh my gosh, yeah, that's actually making the shift that's what's because I kept going, I'm still struggling with, there's still so much. It's really funny because you and I have talked about adult chair And I've recommended to so many people that they listen to your podcast. And so it's like, I was already aware of that, but for whatever reason, I was just sort of like I wasn't tuning into it. And I think, and one of the things that jumped into my head, I just want to share really quick, because there may be other people listening who are coming from the same experience. And I think a lot of us who've been through trauma, particularly as children, you leave your body, like you're up and out of your body pretty quick. And when I say that, I just mean that you're like, you're kind of like operating from the neck up. You're not really feeling your physical body, and you're not, I don't know how to articulate that well. I mean, I know what I mean, but
no, it's the language that we talked about. It's that language today. Yeah. What I would call it is do we live from the chin up, which is all from the mind and above, or from chin down, which is in the body. And the adult chair, when we're in the adult chair, it's living from really not only just chin up, but also chin down. It's the whole package. Chin down is more the
all
child.
Of it together.
Anyway, it's all of it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you know, so as you are talking about like having these things come up or emotions or whatever, but I think I was so disassociated from myself for so long, like so out of my body or whatever, that, things would happen or emotions might come up or something, but I was so used to turning my head and going, no, I'm not listening. But I didn't even know I was, you don't know that you're doing it when you're in that kind of, you're in that mode. And so just even being able to articulate or figure out, what am I feeling? I don't even know what I'm feeling. And so just having this conversation with you was really helping a lot. So, but I realized, I went, okay, so the things that I can't seem to make happen in my life, or, no matter how much I'm open to whatever I want, there's something that keeps blocking me. And I realized that it was, I think the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh gosh, this picture of myself at 15, only like a really goth version of myself at 15, was what leapt into my head as we were sitting there talking at breakfast. And I went, okay, I need to talk to her. Like when we're, like after we're done and we leave and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to talk to her. And so thinking about these different things in my life that, okay, what is it that's keeping me from being successful at what I want to be successful at? And one of the things was being people, knowing who I am, being well known for something. And it took me immediately back to yet another part of me. So there were these different parts that were popping up, where there was like the 5-year-old me, the 8-year-old me, and then the 15-year-old me. And they were each kind of separate because they were each dealing with a separate event in my life. That they had really, really good reasons to be very fearful of whatever this was. And so the first thing was the 5-year-old me, and I was with, and there was this thing that just happened when I was like, I was with my dad and my brother. We were going to a grocery store late at night. And I was like, when I was a kid, I was always performing. I was always, wanting to be Carol Burnett or whatever. And so I was clowning around. I was funny. I mean, it was like I did accents really well, and just, for a little kid, it was pretty good stuff. It was fun. Yeah. And so I was very encouraged. To like really, be in that and grow that and explore that, which was great. But on this particular evening, my dad was like, I think he was probably upset or stressed or something, but I mean, he didn't say that to us, but we're going in, and I said or did something that was kind of loud in the parking lot, and it was dark. It was in the evening. And he just grabbed the top of my head and kind of turned my head. He didn't hurt me at all. It was just that I could tell he was embarrassed. And he was like, come on, let's quiet down. Let's just do what we need to do here. And it just it cut to my core of, oh, I'm an embarrassment, And so I have lived out of that for the rest of my life. And he totally didn't mean that. Like, I don't fault my dad. That was how I internalized it as a 5-year-old,
Absolutely. And our parents never, I mean, they don't mean to give us these.
Yeah, no, not at all. My dad adored me. Yeah, he was
exactly.
And he adored me, but but that, like, oh boy, that stuck with me. And then there was another time not long after that where I was singing in the car, and my brother, through the radio or whatever, my brother was like, "Oh, Mom, can't you make her stop?" And so then I was like, "Oh, I'm a horrible singer. I should never do that again." So there were just these different things that happened that were kind of shutting me down, and I was going through some other trauma that had nothing to do with my family. Actually, they didn't even know about it at the time. And so there was that. And then, so this morning, that part of me was, when I was thinking about sort of the things that I'm pursuing, and that there could be some, like, I could be a bit of, there could be publicity with not publicity like entertainment business, but, I could become known for something. And that was, that part of me was like, no, we've got to keep this shut down. You can't be successful, because if people know who you are, then we could get made fun of. We could get ridiculed. We could be an embarrassment, and, everybody could, like, not like us anymore. And like, there was just this whole thing that she was, like, broadcasting, and I was going, whoa, wow. Okay. Like, all right. That's legitimate. I hear you. Like, those are valid concerns because of what you've experienced, but it's okay, so just like you had taught me from this adult chair work, I was telling her, like, wait a second, it's okay. I'm here now. I'm so sorry I wasn't here before, because I was so disassociated from myself. I kept trying to run from myself and all the trauma that I'd gone through. So it was just this, like, I don't know. It was weird because it seemed so simple, but it was really emotional and profound to be able to kind of tell her, it's okay. I'm here now. Like, I'm not going to leave you to deal with this. I can handle this now. And so, and then it was very quickly, then the 8-year-old was there, and things that happened when I was 8, and that experience of letting her know that everything was okay. And then the 15-year-old was there, and I had been, I'd gone through some sexual abuse, and I was raped on a date when I was 15. And so it was my first date, and it was actually on my 15th birthday, ironically. But that was something that, so then that was sort of the goth looking me that was like, okay, forget this. Everybody's lied to me, about all of this stuff. And so she was very jaded, and she was like, you can't trust men ever, because they're going to reject you. They don't care about you, and they want to use you and leave you. And they don't, like, that's it. And so anyway, there was that. And so I'm going, okay, so all of this stuff. So as I was addressing each one of these, then it was amazing, like, to sort of, again, in my mind's eye, just watch them and feel. And I was having this visceral experience of all of the tension that I had, like, in my chest and in my gut, that just, thinking about these things coming up, or like, if I thought about the idea of having a good relationship in my life, I would really feel like tension in my gut and in my chest, like, and it was like, that was that 15-year-old going, that's not safe. That's not safe. You're going to get rejected, because you always get rejected. You're going to get, like, whatever, you're going to get used because that's what they do, or whatever. And in my conscious mind, I know that that's not true. I know men, like, not all men are like that. You know what I mean? But that was that part of me, that looping in my subconscious. And so as I addressed her, I literally felt physically everything, like, relax and change. And I had this kind of image in my head of me with all three of those me's at different ages, like, laughing and playing, and all of this, like, it's okay, that they're able to relax now because they know I'm there.
Wow.
So it was
that really incredibly
huge.
Powerful.
It really was. Incredible. I really felt a physical shift. And then the other thing that I was, that occurred to me, I went, oh, wait a second, I'm so slow on the uptake sometimes. But, like, all of those other little tools that I had been trying to use to, release trapped emotions and false beliefs and all these different things, which are great little tools, but they're not, I went, oh my gosh, wait a second. Those other parts of me, they just kept, no matter what I was doing to release stuff, those other little parts of me just kept generating more false beliefs or more trapped emotions or whatever. Because as I would be faced with any situation that was coming up, like, more success with my work or whatever, then all of a sudden I would be triggered and not even aware that I was being triggered.
Exactly, because we're unconscious when we're in that adolescent chair, and they're running the show for us. It's all in that subconscious and the unconscious, and all of those parts are running our lives unless we bring in consciousness, which is that adult part of us. And I love that. So here you are, trying to be more successful at work, doing everything right. You've been working on creating love in your life, getting a life partner. What the heck's going on? And we do all of these techniques and all this, but until we look at the parts of us that are running the show behind the scenes, and I use the analogy, like I love the analogy or the metaphor of the Wizard of Oz.
Oh my God!
Oz is just, everyone's like so afraid of that big giant voice like Oz. And then when we realize who Oz really is, it's this little short guy on the speaker. It's like with a mic. It's like, wait a minute, that's what these parts are all about. But we don't know in order to find the root, we got to slow down and pop those parts out that are saying to us, hey, so that knot in your stomach, what'd you say every time you thought about, was it attracting love or career? What was it? And you got a knot in your stomach?
Everything. Oh, any and everything. I mean, really, because both of those things are something that I really, really want. But it's been a rough few years of just every kind of one failure after another. With work.
Because who's running the show? It's like, who's running the show for you? This little 8-year-old and a 15-year-old. So then when we talk about self-love, people want to love themselves. They want to learn how. They try all these different things, but it's like until we get to know all these parts, then we have the compassion, then we have the love, and it all simultaneously starts happening. So when we look at these little parts that are hidden in the shadows, and we pull them out and go, oh my God, it's you, my 8-year-old. The 8-year-old that says, oh my God, you're too much, or you don't want to speak too loudly, or you're an embarrassment. And then when you can come in as your adult self who's 40-some years old and say, hold on a second, that was because Dad was stressed or whatever it was, and clarify what was going on and say, this is unnecessary, it's okay. It's like, then it can relax. And oftentimes those parts are here to keep us small. It's like, how does keeping us small help us? It doesn't. But that 6-year-old or that 10-year-old may think, we need to keep small. You don't want to be seen. Well, if you're trying to have a big career and yet you have a part that says, don't ever be seen, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's the thing. All of these parts, and people get so mad at their parts. I'm like, but wait a minute, they're here to keep you safe. Even the part that says be small and don't be too big. It's like it's coming from that egoic place that sits in that adolescent chair, but it's here to keep you alive. It's trying to do that. It just doesn't know that there's anyone else here to help, which is your adult. And I remember the other girl this morning when we had, I won't use her name, but that we had breakfast with today. She had said, well, I know we just need to accept those parts. And that's, I think when we talked about that's being that chin up, like, well, that's like, well, of course we do. But how do you do that? It's like, we can't do it unless we drop in and get to know that part. And then we go, oh my God, it's my little baby that's 8 years old. Well, of course, now I can accept it. So, wow.
Yeah. And I think like you talked about, you're loving that part of you and acknowledging that part of you and, bringing it into the light, on center stage, out of the wings, like we were talking about. And I think that's a great analogy as well, is that, all of these parts of us are still, until we can bring them out into the situation and into the light and really address them, then they keep calling the shots from the wings. And,
right.
And that's not a place where we're going to function very well. Yeah, we don't even know.
No.
So,
no.
Yeah.
We want to bring them center stage.
Yeah.
Hopefully what?
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to be able to do like a follow-up podcast like later on and go, here's all the good stuff that's happened now.
Yes. Okay, we're going to give you 2 months,
right?
We want to hear that you have your life partner and your career is booming. We're going to give you a couple months and then we're going to come. I'm serious. And we're going to come back because the more you pay attention out of those inner parts, just watch what happens. Watch what happens.
Okay. All
because
right.
I mean, now
you're only giving me 2 months.
You better work on this. But the other thing is now, and so many people out there talk about the law of attraction. I know I have a whole podcast on this, but this is why law of attraction doesn't work if we have a block. It's like consciously I can sit all day long and say, I want a partner. I can see myself with a partner. I have a vision board with a partner. Where's my partner? You've got an 8-year-old that's running the show that says, whatever. Like, what was your belief about that? Was it whatever your 8 or 15-year-old? What did that part you say?
That 15-year-old, just that you're going to be rejected. You're always rejected.
Oh, yes. You're always rejected. So that part of you carries more energy than the conscious mind. The conscious mind, I don't remember off the top of my head, it processes far less. It's like the subconscious mind processes isn't like 10 million bits of information per second. So it's processing a ton and recording a ton versus the conscious mind is, I don't remember. Oh my God, I can't remember. 100 bits of information per second. Like it's far less. So the subconscious mind is where we want to go. And then we can start laying out our conscious creations and actually saying things like, okay, now I'm ready for a life partner. And then we tune into our body and we say, does that make me feel, oh, great. Like I don't have any contractions. I don't have a stomach ache. My throat doesn't go in tight. If you are having a physical response, then we know there's an emotion or energetic block that's blocking us from attracting that life partner. And we've got to get inside of ourselves and say, who's running the show? There is someone in the wings, and we need to bring them on stage so we can see who it is that's dictating that I shouldn't have a life partner, or career, or new home, or whatever the heck it is. We want to get in touch with those parts that are blocking us. So. And we got to do that. We got to find out who's sitting in all these chairs.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'm just coming to my mind is to mention, because it was incredibly helpful, was just that it was a massive thing that you and I talked about a little while back, just, some different men that I had dated who they really pursued me. I mean, it was like really, really pursued me. And then once and everything was fine until I was face to face with them. And I realized I'm getting triggered. Like I'm having a visceral, like, oh, there's something once I was face to face with somebody. And then you said, and then it would be like, all of a sudden they had no interest at all. And I was like, there's something, so that was the thing. I was like, there's something really wrong with me. I'm really unattractive, or there's something really wrong with my personality, or like, what is going on? And you said, you were like, no, wait, you are rejecting yourself so strongly that once they're with you, like, they're physically in the same general space as you, then that's what they're feeling, and they're mirroring it back to you, and they're like, oh, whoa. Because you can feel the walls. I was like, okay, what is going on? And I went, and so then when you said that to me, I went, oh my gosh, I'm so busted right now. I'm totally rejecting myself. I didn't realize it at all. I didn't see it at all.
Right.
So yeah, that was huge. Yeah. Huge.
So if you're rejecting yourself, then again, you're going to attract someone in that's going to do the exact same thing. Because they're mirroring, everyone that we attract in is mirroring what we believe about ourselves. So it's like,
yeah. Lovely.
Oh my gosh. Well, we look forward to hearing from you in a couple months. I'm going to give you 2 to 3 months the most. We'll talk to you at the end of the summer, maybe. And you can check in with us and tell us about your newfound love or your success in business or something that might have changed. We don't know what's going to change. Who knows? Because, you've just given light to these different types, these different parts of you. So let's just see what happens in the next few months. And we will do a follow-up podcast with you.
Okay, perfect.
Sound good? No
great.
pressure.
No pressure at all.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you all. And enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks so much for listening. And anything else you want to say, my friend Liz? Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Thanks so much for having me on. I really hope to serve somebody out there.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.